Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss on the topic sexual reproduction in flowering plant, and this video is presented to you by www.examhere.com. So as we have discussed in our previous video about the pollination, about the various methods of pollination, various mode of pollination, how the pollen grain were transferred from anther to the stigma, and now we are going to discuss how the pollen tube grow. So to understand this topic, we have to first understand the pollen and pistil interaction. So this is the interaction between the pollen and pistil which leads to recognition of pollen to accept or reject the pollen. So we will discuss this by easy diagram. This is pistil. This is pistil and this is pollen. This is pollen 1 and this is pollen 2. So after the interaction between the pollen and pistil take place, this is the pollen and this is pistil. The pistil will release some chemical substance which will recognize whether the pollen grain is compatible to it or not. So if the pollen grain is compatible to it, it will start germinating pollen tube, and if it is not compatible, it will not germinate or it will inhibit the germination of pollen. Okay. So if this stigma recognize the pollen 1, the chemicals released by this stigma will recognize the pollen 1, then the pollen 1 will start germinating pollen tube. But if it does not recognize it, then it will, for example, if this stigma does not recognize the pollen 2, then it will inhibit its growth. Okay, so this is the pollen and pistil interaction. This is done by the chemical substances released from the stigma. Okay, so when the pollen reaches to the stigmatic surface, when the pollen reaches to the stigmatic surface, this is the pollen. When it reaches to the stigmatic surface, this pollen is in dehydrated condition. So when it reaches to the stigma, which release some sticky secretion, which is made up of sugar, organic acid or other substances, is absorbed by this pollen, and then this pollen become hydrated and swells up. So now I will show the enlarged view of the pollen. This is the inner wall of the pollen. This is the outer wall of the pollen. Okay. This is intine. This is exine. And these are the germ pore. Germ pore. Okay. So the pollen contain vegetative cell and a generative cell. So when the interaction between the pollen and pistil take place and the pollen become hydrated and swells up, after that the intine comes out, the inner wall comes out through the germ pore, and with the help of this vegetative cell the pollen tube start germinating. The pollen tube will start germinating through the germ pore, because the germ pore is the only area which do not contain the sporoporellin, which is the protein by which the outer exine is made up of. So the exine is the tough wall which prevent the pollen from adverse condition. So if the development of one pollen tube take place, then it is called monosiphonous pollen grain, and if develop more than one pollen tube, then it is called polysiphonous pollen grain. Okay, so the pollen tube can enter through the micropyle end or through chalazal end or through integument. Okay, these are the entry of the pollen tube. So if the pollen tube enter through micropyle, then it is called porogamy, which is the most common, and if the pollen tube enter through chalazal end, then it is called chalazogamy, and if the pollen tube enter through the integument, then it is called mesogamy. Okay, so as I have discussed earlier that the vegetative or tube cell enlarge and comes out through the germ pore, forms a pollen tube. After the vegetative nuclei, it is followed by the generative cell, which have the two male gametes. So this is the pollen grain containing, this is the pollen grain, this is the inner layer, this is the outer layer. It contains the vegetative and the generative nuclei. So this vegetative nuclei will help for the germination of pollen tube, and this generative nuclei, this one having two male gamete. Okay, so the two male gamete were released through the pollen tube. Also the pollen tube will secrete some enzyme which will digest the reserved food material in the stigma and style for its growth. So this is full packed with the food material. This full area is packed with the food material. So the pollen grain now will release some enzyme so that it can lyse this area, it can digest this area, and the pollen tube can grow easily. You can see in this diagram the pollen tube is growing easily and having two male gamete. Okay, after which the pollen tube reaches to the micropyle end. Okay, so the pollen tube grow chemotropically due to the concentration gradient of calcium boron inositol complex, which enhance the unidirectional growth of the pollen tube. So there is some concentration gradient through which the pollen tube grow in the unidirectional way and reaches to the micropyle, and the pollen tube contain the two male gamete which fuses with the egg cell and the polar nuclei, which we will discuss further. Okay, so now we are going to discuss double fertilization. It was first observed by Navaschin in 1898 in Frutillaria and Lilium. So in angiosperm, the male gamete are brought to the egg containing the female gametophyte by the pollen tube, and this phenomena is called sphenogamy. Okay, so now I will make a small diagram by showing the female reproductive organ. This is the female reproductive organ, pistil. Okay, this is the pistil. So this one is the stigma, this one is a style, and this is ovary. So stigma receives the pollen grain, the pollen tube will generate through the style. The pollen tube will release some enzymes so that it can digest the reserved food material present in it, and through the nucellus, this is the nucellus part, it enter into the embryo sac through the micropyle end. So the pollen tube contain the two male gamete in which you can see in this diagram these are the two male gamete. So inside the embryo sac the pollen tube rupture and the two male gamete are released, in which the one is fused with the egg nuclei forming a diploid zygote. This fusion is called syngamy or true fertilization or generative fertilization. Okay, so this one of the male gametophyte will fuse with the egg cell. This is the egg cell. The female gamete containing the haploid number of chromosome, and the male also contain the haploid number of chromosome, and these both will fuse, forms and diploid zygote. Okay, both will fuse and form the diploid zygote, which will further develop into embryo. And the other male gamete will fuse with the two polar nuclei forming a two haploid nuclei to form a triploid primary endosperm nucleus. In this process the fusion of three nuclei take place. That's why it is called triple fusion or vegetative fertilization, and the central cell is now called primary endosperm cell, which will further develop into the endosperm. So the polar nuclei, this is the polar nuclei having two nuclei initially, and after the fusion with the one male gamete it will form the three nuclei. So because the three nuclei is taking part, so this is called triple fusion, and now this whole is called triploid primary endosperm nuclei. Okay, and further it will develop into endosperm, which will provide nourishment to the zygote. Okay, now what are the significance of double fertilization? Double fertilization is necessary to produce the viable seeds in flowering plant so that the plant can continue its generation. Double fertilization ensure that the nutritive tissue or endosperm is formed only when the formation of embryo has been confirmed by fertilization of egg. If fertilization fail, no endosperm is formed. So in double fertilization, if the fertilization take place, if the syngamy take place between the egg cell and the male gamete in this area, this is the egg cell and this is the male gamete, if the fusion between these two will take place, this process is called syngamy, then only the fusion between the second male gamete and the polar nuclei will take place and the endosperm will form. If there is no fusion between the egg cell and the male gamete, so no endosperm will be formed. Okay, now we will discuss the post fertilization changes. So after fertilization, the sepals, petals, stamen, style and stigma all will fall off. So this is the diagram of a flower. Okay, this is the diagram of a flower having sepals, petals, style, stamen. Okay, so petals will fall off, sepals will fall off, stamen will fall off, and stigma and style, this whole portion will fall off. Only the ovary will remain. Okay. So in some like tomato and brinjal, you have seen that the calyx also persists. If you have seen the diagram of a tomato, if you have seen if you have seen tomato, then this is the calyx, and in brinjal also this is calyx which persist. Okay. Okay. The zygote undergo the number of mitotic division and forms the embryo. Similarly, the primary endosperm nucleus form the food-laden tissue called endosperm. So the antipodal cell, so these are the antipodal cell which have no use, so it will degenerate and perish. Then the ovary become the fleshy part containing ovule as seeds. This will become the fruit, the fleshy part, and the ovules will become seeds. Post-fertilization changes can be further studied under the heading endosperm formation, embryo formation, seed formation, and fruit formation. This I have discussed in my next video, so we will discuss it further. Okay. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe Exam Hai on YouTube, like our videos and comment.